Hey everyone, welcome in, diving right into a situation that's changing by the hour, really. The conflict between Israel and Iran.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hmm.
Feels like we went from, those proxy battles and shadow wars to a direct fight practically overnight.
And to really get what's going on now, probably best to take a step back first, right?
Mm.
Look at the history between these two. The sources you sent over, it's clear this isn't something new. This goes way back. There's that phrase, shadow war, that keeps popping up. What's that even mean here?
Well, it's like they're both vying for control, right? But not out in the open. Instead of armies fighting, it's been more like assassinations, cyber attacks, those proxy conflicts we mentioned, both sides fueling it.
And this shadow war, it's not theoretical. There's been
Oh, yeah.
real impact. Can't talk about this without bringing up Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, right?
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. Those groups are major players in this, often doing Iran's bidding, basically.
Right.
Iran gives them weapons, money, trains them, and puts pressure on Israel from all these different directions.
So almost like a chess game, Iran's moving these pieces around. And it all comes back to what the sources say is their goal, the destruction of Israel.
That's what they claim. Yeah, and obviously that sets off every alarm bell in Israel, which is why they've spent years trying to counter Iran, mess up their nuclear stuff, weaken Hezbollah, all that.
Which brings us up to right now, and it's tense, to say the least. Sources show things have gotten way worse the past few months, especially Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. What's the situation there?
Southern Lebanon is a tinderbox, basically.
Hmm.
Israel sees Hezbollah there as a direct threat to them. It's not just the rockets they've got. They built tunnels under the border, too.
Tunnels, what are those for?
Israel thinks Hezbollah wants to use those to send in a ton of fighters, like a massive attack coming up from underground inside Israeli territory. It's their worst-case scenario.
That makes Israel's actions lately make a lot more sense. We've seen reports about airstrikes on Hezbollah for almost a year now, but this past month has been different.
Yeah, it's been ramping up. First, the airstrikes got way more intense, tons of damage to Hezbollah stuff. Then they assassinated Hezbollah's leader, Hassan Nasrallah. And if that wasn't enough, they started using some, let's say, unconventional methods.
Unconventional how?
Think like cell phones, pagers, rigged to blow up, set off near important Hezbollah guys. It lets Israel target those specific people, trying to keep other people from getting hurt.
Wow. Talk about high stakes. And then on top of all that, we get Israel's most recent move, and it's a big one, a ground invasion of southern Lebanon. Ground invasion, it changes everything, right? Feels like a line's been crossed. What's the deal with this? Why now?
This wasn't just them snapping.
Yeah.
The stuff you sent, it sounds like Israel's been getting ready for this kind of thing. Remember those military exercises near Lebanon a while back?
Yeah.
Probably part of the plan all along.
So they were ready, but why? Airstrikes weren't enough.
Seems like they got to a point where it wasn't working, or at least not well enough. Disrupting Hezbollah is one thing, but those tunnels are still there. So are the rockets. Going in on the ground, they can maybe take those out themselves right at the source.
What are they saying they want to do? What's the goal, officially?
On paper, take apart Hezbollah's military stuff in South Lebanon. But, and you got to read between the lines here, a lot of people think they want more. Cripple Hezbollah for good, like set them back years. Whether that's doable in a war, that's another story.
Risky move either way. But as if this wasn't big enough, something even crazier happens. While this is going on, troops entering Lebanon, Iran decides to flex a little. And I mean really flex.
You're talking about the missiles, right? Ballistic missiles. That was, yeah, a turning point for sure. Troops cross the border, boom. Iran fires these things at Israel. That's direct confrontation, the kind that everyone was scared of.
Can't even imagine what people in Israel were thinking. Sirens, scrambling for shelter must have been terrifying. Those sources you shared.
It was a wake-up call, that's for sure. This thing can get out of hand fast. And those missiles, that wasn't just for show either.
So what's the big deal with ballistic missiles? We've had rockets, drones. This is different.
Oh, yeah. Few ways. One, they're way faster. Like Iron Dome, that defense system Israel has. Good luck stopping these things. Two, they go way farther. We're talking Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, in range. And the worst part, they can hit way harder. If even a couple get through, lots of people could die.
So yeah, not subtle at all. Iran's basically saying, don't test us, we'll hit back hard. But what are they playing at? Just trying to scare Israel off, or is there more to it?
Probably a bit of both, to be honest. It's revenge, sure. You mess with our guys, Hezbollah, we hit back. Simple as that. But it's also them trying to look tough. Don't mess with us, we'll take you on.
Doing that, though, the stakes just went way up. Now the experts are all saying, this direct fight, Israel and Iran, could turn into a full-blown war.
And that's what we're looking at now. not just those two anymore either. This could drag in other countries, go
Oh,
global.
yeah.
That'd be really bad. Really, really bad.
And it's already costing lives. Beyond the military stuff, the reports you sent, it's heartbreaking what's happening to people stuck in the middle. Yeah, it's easy to focus on the big picture stuff, the armies, the politics, but this is people's lives, you know? Those stories you sent, people caught in this. It's rough.
It reminds you, war isn't just lines on a map. There was this one really got to me, Sameh al-Asali, Palestinian guy, construction worker, killed by like debris from an Iranian missile in the West Bank. He'd already left Gaza trying to get his family safe. And
Awful. Just shows you there's no predicting it in war. And then you've got those families in South Lebanon stuck between Hezbollah and Israel, thousands leaving their homes, everything upended in a second.
and don't forget, Lebanon was already in bad shape. Economy's been a mess, and now they've got all these refugees on top of it. It's a disaster on top of a disaster.
The reports all say the UN, everyone wants a ceasefire, help for the people who need it. But is that going to be enough to stop this?
That's the big question, right? Right now, the world's watching Israel, watching Iran. What they going to do next? Is anyone thinking straight, or is this just going to get worse?
Because, I mean, who knows what happens now? This invasion, the missiles, could be just the start of something way, way worse.
And that's scary to think about. More fighting, more people dying. The whole region could fall apart. And Iran might hit back even harder themselves, or with those groups they support all over, this could easily explode.
People talk about miscalculations, accidents in war. Seems like the odds of that are higher than ever right now. One wrong step, one overreaction, and it's out of control.
That's what's so unnerving. Everyone's on edge. Everything's a threat. Doesn't take much to set this whole thing off.
So what now? What's next? Wish I had good news. Some easy answer, but nobody knows.
And that's where we're at. But we can't just give up, Got to
Yeah.
stay informed, talk about this stuff, not just the simple version you hear on the news.
Because it's not just some game. This isn't on a map. Real people, real families right in the middle of it, and it's not their fault. Those are the stories we need to hear.
It's overwhelming, all this, yeah. But we can't look away, can't just not care what happens in the next few days, weeks. It's going to matter, not just for those two countries, but for everyone.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. When you see the news, when you talk about this, look past the headlines, the politics of it all. Find those human stories, the people living through this, what they're going through, what they've seen. That's how we understand what war really means, why peace is so important. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay hopeful.